Hi, everyone who's present over here, ready to watch another interview. With me as of today, I have architect Maansi Shah with me. She's working as a WASH consultant, which is water and sanitation hygiene consultant. And she is climate conscious, which makes her passionate to work towards climate adaptation or mitigation and mitigation. She's also working towards gender inclusivity. She has she doesn't practice architecture anymore as such. She's moved into a lifestyle that's more around serving other people and helping Indians in general. So is there something that you would like to add to this introduction of yours?
I wouldn't say that I'm helping other people. I would just like to say that, yeah, I chose a stream which eventually helps other people, but it's not like a service. It is work. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Were you always oriented to this particular profession, or did you build up to this particular area?
Yes, I actually have always been, since my childhood, been confused and been the jack of all sort of a person. So I used to try out different things, and even when I chose architecture, which was a field which took a lot of my time, even after that I used to tell my mother that maybe I'll also do fashion design and things like that, because I was never a person who thought of myself or my career as a noun. Like, I wouldn't like to say that I'm an architect. I would say that I like architecture, or I would practice architecture, or even consulting is something that I practice, but that's not who I am. So there's many things that a person can do. There are people who, are focused and can take up one profession and practice it diligently. I don't think I am that. So I've built up to this profession, yes.
Okay. How was, school life for you? How did you, uh, channel it down to architecture as your field to do your graduation in?
School life, actually, I was pretty nerdy in school. I
Okay.
was by the books, and I hardly played any sports. I was like into books all the time. My favorite hobby was reading, and the children who study on the way to school as well. I was that kind of a kid. So I was like that, but then also I was really interested in art. So I love to do rangoli, or I would wait for like Diwali for everyone is like sweets and getting dressed up. For me, it still is only rangoli. Like, I spend 4 to 5 hours doing only that. So that was something I really liked doing. And then I remember then that in 8th grade, I think, we had to write an essay in which we were supposed to think that what our careers would be. That is the time when I actually thought that, oh, this, like, a design integrated with something that you can build with your own hands. I looked at architecture like that then.
Mm.
And I thought that, yeah, I wrote an essay which said that I'll be an architect when I grow up. And I actually went on to do architecture. But then architecture is not so much built with your own hands anymore. So yeah, that's how I floated to other things, I think. Yeah.
Did you see a shift in your interest from architecture to another environment-oriented field during your college life, or was it after you finished and you started practicing architecture?
I think during my college life, it could be because of the college that I was in, or other circumstances, that I did not enjoy the process as such. Like, I liked design, but then the way it was taught, or the way things were moving around me, I was not complicit of that, and I would not enjoy the process. So, and I had a habit of being a very bright child, and in school. So it was like a shift in which I was really struggling with the process. A lot of people say that architecture is actually unlearning the ways that you've been taught in a lot of ways. But then that unlearning wasn't happening so easily, so gradually for me. It was a tough process. I actually struggled. It could be because of the environment that I was in as well. But I thought the way design should be taught I wasn't happy with it. But when I came out, it's not like I did not enjoy design. So when I came out, I actually did my internship from Orville. And that is where I think in those 6 months of my internship is where I actually learned architecture. Before that, it was just some blood thing. Like I really did not enjoy it. But then I thought, oh yeah, there's so much that you can actually do. And, and that's where also I was acquainted with this all sustainable architecture and vernacular architecture with, and also that I said that architecture with your own hands as well, building with mud and stuff like that. So it was very, very interesting for me. And I love architecture. Even today, like I always dream of building with my own hands, my own house one day. But that's where the shift happened, I think. In Orville, I thought that, okay, I would not want to go back to commercial city life architecture. And I wasn't ready to like just be in a place where this is being practiced. So that's where the shift happened. I thought I'll move to something which is more towards the environment.
Okay. So seems like Orville was a turning point for you. And how did that ever affect your thesis or education after that, or did you just take that flow and go ahead?
Yeah, actually, in my thesis was bamboo architecture. So it was totally what I had seen and learned in Orville. It wasn't, it's not like I had practices with my own hands, but I had visited the bamboo center and I'd witnessed people building with bamboo. And that's how I thought that maybe I should experiment with that in my thesis. And I did. I wouldn't say it was a very successful attempt, but it was not bad. And I enjoyed it. And post that, I actually tried to practice with a firm for a bit. But then in the city, it was like what I realized that you can't, like I also built one building by myself for my uncle. And I realized that it's so much dependent on what the client wants, at least in the beginning. So I wasn't happy doing the commercial work that I was getting. So then that is when I thought that, okay, I should look for something else. And then I did my master's in environmental management from IIT Roorkee. That was a very interesting course. And it was specifically related to water, like environment, not in general, but water specific.
Okay. So during your entire educational course, is there something like you would want to give back to the educational community, or is there some other way that you feel like if you were taught in that particular way, I could have understood it better? Because I think there are so many other students out there going through the exact same problem. Like I know people from my acquaintances who just don't tend to, they have good ideologies, they have really good concepts, but they're not able to put it into yes, exactly. So is there something that you ever thought of, agar aisa hota to probably it would have been better for me?
Yeah, I think in a few ways, I actually was a very rebellious student, even when I was in architecture. I used to ask a lot of questions. I think all my teachers hated me because I was somebody who did not go by the books. I wanted to know more. And I just felt that I never got the answers that I wanted. So I just feel that I don't expect that teachers should have all the answers. It's true that they won't. But yes, I think they should at least inculcate that culture where they can also tell you that maybe they can get back with those answers. Maybe they don't have them, but they can get back with those answers instead of looking at it in a way that, oh my God, like, why is she making such a fuss? So I always felt that even the students, a lot of times the students, either it's because their passion has been killed in the first few years, or it's just that or general sense of learning is lacking. I'm not sure, but even they feel that why waste time, just go by the books, just study what is needed to just pass and just. But that's not how other fields could work like that you just give exams, you clear a certain exam and just go there and get a job. That could work for other fields, but definitely not architecture. You really have to know what you're doing. Otherwise, it's not like you can show your mark sheet and get work done. That's not what's going to happen. So I feel that that culture of uh, bringing curiosity to learning,
Mm,
and at least if and I always thought that in the way that you asked that how do I contribute, a lot of my friends would say that teaching is a good profession, and they would just finish their architecture and then masters probably, and then just go to teaching, which I thought was really really not the case that it should be. I always thought that you architecture especially is a field where you learn, practice for a really long time, and then from what you learn in practice you actually
give
go
back.
teach the next generation.
Yeah.
So maybe that is one of the things that I've thought that was missing in our teachers, that they just uh, come to this profession without actually practicing a lot,
Mm.
which in turn then becomes, because that is one of the reasons that they don't have all the answers, right? So I think one should practice a lot. Like I remember one of the architects has mentioned that an architect just should build one building in his lifetime and then stand by the building and explain to the world what that building means. I think the depth of architecture is such, and it can come only through practice through years.
It's true. It's actually such a good thing because at an age or at an era where it's all about money at the end of the day, there's no other motive
Hmm.
people are looking for. So even teaching has
Right,
been commercialized to a level where you know that if you're going to teach, you're going to earn a certain amount of money and you're going to be well off.
right, right.
People have that
Yeah,
set as their safety net rather than actually
exactly,
out and searching for what's required in the world. It
exactly.
it relates a lot to our situations right now, and it's good that we have people like you who are talking openly about it. So, how do you think these sustainable choices or the kind of environment inclination you had during your internship has affected your life as of now? What are your personal choices that you have made?
Yeah. One thing, uh, there's another quote that I'd like to mention, that I'd read about it, that the most sustainable building is the one that was never built.
True.
So that was something that I really felt when I was doing honestly bad work. The work that I really did not want to build, but it was getting me money, but I really did not want to build. That is the time when I realized that build sustainable, this is not something that I should be building, like absolutely not. So that's how I moved towards a more sustainable choices. Individually, I think I haven't been able to do much through my work. My work is related. I am, like I said, a wash consultant. So what we do is water and sanitation, in which there is solid waste management. There is rejuvenation of lakes. There is also supply projects of water supply to. Right now, currently, I'm working on a project called Jal Jeevan Mission. It is rural water supply to all the villages in India. So it is definitely work that feels more satisfying, that you can actually see that you are impacting lives in a way that in some way you are also a channel through which uh, you know really isolated scattered villages in maybe tribal areas or hilly areas are actually getting water, clean water to drink. So it is those I think those are the choices that I've made. I have struggled a lot through different paths and then reached here. But apart from that, in my personal life as well, um, I was like every girl, around the age of 20s to 25ish. I was a fashion freak and I would love shopping, and I did not know the environmental impact of it at all. I would like buy all sorts of things that I did not need and stuff like that. So I started after Orville. I started minimizing all of those things. One of the things, clothes especially, like I haven't bought clothes. I think in the past maybe 7 years, I haven't bought new clothes. So I started looking at it as a waste. Like all of these things, which are, because fashion, fast fashion especially, is like a waste. Like it's a commodity which driven by consumerism, absolutely. So
Yeah.
these things are started coming into the picture. Like I started reading a lot about consumerism, capitalism, minimalism, and stuff like that.
Moving ahead, when I was going through your profile, so when you were introduced to me through our seniors, I was told about a new, I'm not sure if I'm saying this right, Benmade initiative. Is that
Oh
right?
yes, yeah.
Could
Bain
you
made.
tell
So
us a
Bain,
little?
yeah. Bain in Gujarati means sister.
Okay, it's
So
Bain.
yeah, it's been made, and it's a very recent initiative. So like I said, that I've been involved with waste management and stuff like that. So a few things which I feel that fabric scraps, for instance, fabric is something which I relate myself to a lot. That one of the reasons is that the textile industry is the second largest polluter of water. And since
Okay.
I work in the water field, I know the consequences of dyeing with chemical dyes and stuff like that. So that is one of the reasons that I stopped shopping clothes. And but what happens is that most, like nearly 70 to 80% fabric today is polyester. It's not
Yeah.
natural fabrics. So, and polyester, because it's a mix of fabric and plastic, it's not something which can be recycled. So,
Okay.
which is true for a lot of materials which are mixed materials. So, because it cannot be recycled, I thought that upcycling fabric is one of the things that you can do. At least you increase the life of the fabric. And a lot of people just wear clothes once, twice, throw it away, and stuff like that. So there's a lot of cloths which goes to waste. So I started collecting scraps from tailors. So basically, when you cut out a certain dress, after that, the small scraps that are left out, I collect those from tailors. And my mom is helping me out with the initiative. We have a few girls, and we started making handcrafted trivets out of it in the beginning. And now we're making some flow mats and stuff like that. So I thought in one way, uh, women that actually a few women I met with that lost their jobs during COVID. So they used to work in factories and stitch sweaters and stuff like that. So they lost their jobs. So they got an opportunity to work in this way. And we could also get away with a lot of waste is the reason I started it. Yeah.
And does this anyhow, run along the lines of feminism for you? Or is it just a coincidence that you've been, associated with women around your area?
Yeah. So I think this also stems from uh, how I've been brought up. I've been brought up in a very patriarchal household. Like my mom, when I was growing up, I used to love cooking. When I was around in my teens, I started feeling that, okay, the one who cooks in the family has no power. So I stopped. I absolutely gave up cooking and all, like, going into the kitchen. And I just thought that, okay, the person who's earning has all the power here. So maybe I should go towards that and not towards this. So, as a child, a lot of how things impact you in your surrounding. So when I grew up, I always felt that one thing I realized is that however much you talk about it, unless you have financial independence, women cannot make decisions.
True.
Because uh, because I have felt that, like, once I started earning, I know how things have changed in my life. It was really, really difficult to make my own decisions before that, and now it's so much more easier, because being in the same family, even if the household is patriarchal, but when you are financially independent, it really changes your life. So I always thought that even if in small ways, if you can help women who are not as privileged as you are,
Yeah.
uh, that because that is what I feel is feminism. I'm not saying that feminism is not for the privileged, but unless feminism is intersectional, it will not mean anything.
True. It won't bring about a revolution or a change until and unless it
Right.
involves all of the kind of women out there that resonate
Exactly.
with you know, what is going on in India right now. As we all know, like, not everyone is above, the average income level. There are so many people, but they go disregarded or unnoticed. I mean, feminism just lies with those people who have the privilege. It somehow, there's an irony in that particular statement. It it it, it,
It's an irony.
it feels so good that there are people somehow, doing something to stop that. I am new to the practicing world, but when I get to talk to people like you, it's truly inspirational.
So am I. I honestly, like, for me, I think the ideas of feminism also have changed so much in the course of time, because uh, you do realize what you're going through in the beginning, but then uh, because of that you sort of become uh, the term feminazi sort of it
Yeah.
comes in, and it gives you this the negative connotation that is being given to feminism today
Mm.
is also because women have not been given that space to actually understand what their rights, and then accordingly what their responsibilities are. So uh, there's a space where you initially just feel entitled to those rights and not look at the responsibilities. Then eventually you start understanding that if you want those rights, you have to take up certain responsibilities, and eventually then you will be at a ground where you can actually have an even ground with men.
True.
And even otherwise, even for, like, for instance, um, marriage, for instance. If I honestly don't believe in marriage, but that's what I'm saying. So once if you look at marriage the people who want to get married, if they look at marriage in a way that the person should not look at a girl's looks and stuff like that, you should also stop looking at men's money and come on equal grounds, be equally responsible to have a household and run it together. Even only then
Mm.
marriages will start getting equal. It cannot go one way, it has to go both ways.
Yes, it's a two-way street after all. It cannot depend on one entire person. So, was this your goal from a long time, or did your goal in your life change from, face to face or stage to stage?
Yeah, like I said, I have always been somebody who never plans life in detail. So even today, like, I couldn't commit that I would stick to this whatever I'm doing for a really long time. I have always, like, this is something I've been doing, working as a consultant for the past 3 years, and I think that's the biggest commitment that I've ever made.
True.
Otherwise, I am somebody who is fluid and does not go around looking for opportunities. But if something comes in, I'm ready. Like, I always have had that leap of faith, and try to uh, go for different kind of opportunities. So uh, I'm sure that there's no set goal as such. I don't look at life like that. I just feel that whatever you're doing, you should enjoy it, and you should be able to contribute through it. And it could be another. That's life, I think.
Very valid point, actually. It's nowadays I know a lot of people who have everything planned, short-term goals, long-term goals, the that they have to take up and to reach the particular goal. But at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it sums up to whether you're satisfied. Are you content? Like, is this what
Hmm.
your heart lies in? And this,
Yeah.
talking to you feels like a breath of fresh air, because there's someone who's finally like, let me work, let me
Yeah.
understand, and according to that, like, life is moving ahead. It's so good.
Yeah.
Is there anything,
Because I also
any
feel that because when you look at goals, um, people look at it. Some look at it in terms of money, that okay, I should earn this much, or some look at it in terms of okay, I should be probably the best in my field,
yeah,
or something like that. I honestly don't believe in competition. I really feel that the world should be less competitive. It should be more collaborative, in
true.
which way we can. I mean, there's the climate crisis. The world is going to end. What are you fighting for exactly? Really, I mean, you should all come together, work for good things, making the
Yeah.
world a better place. I'm not saying that things do require planning. If you're going to be a climate scientist, probably, but
Yeah.
if your goals are something that you want to earn, I always felt that if you enjoy what you're doing, eventually you will start earning. You will
Yes,
eventually
true.
have the money come in. So that should absolutely not be your goal.
Hmm.
Absolutely not look at money as something which, because of which you will sacrifice the work that you're doing. So if you enjoy your work, you will get success in one way or another.
That is profound, because I've always heard my parents say it, and like, this is the secret. I actually started understanding it. It's good though. Is there any kind of message or a small motto that you live by, or you want a thought out into the world that, makes youngsters or our audience think about it, ponder about it, and, at the end of the day, probably act on it? Is there a short message that you would like to give?
Yeah, actually, I already gave away my message, I think, in the previous.
You gave up a
I
lot
think
of messages. It was really good. Every paragraph or every section can have 2 to 3 small sections.
yeah, I just, if it's young people, I would just like to, because I remember when I was maybe in my 20s. I really like to feel that I'm old now when I'm in my 30s. But when I was young, I had a lot of stress about how my career is going to turn out. Or I was very competitive also. And maybe not as good a collaborator as I would now. I look at it and I feel that collaboration would have definitely made me as well as others grow better, because we are just, yeah. So I feel that people these days, and it's a rat race. I am not saying that the world is a very bright and sunny place. It is competitive, but I feel that I also feel that, once the ripple theory, that if you start a patch of goodwill, it will definitely spread and come back to you. So you must look at work as something that is a service, and as something that makes you financially independent, but not as something which is so competitive that you have to, cut down others and go ahead and do something great. It is, even if you reach somewhere, you will not be satisfied with what you have, because in the end, it's life, and life me is so much more than, um, success in terms of money or career. It is about the people that you have in your life. It is about the kindness that you can spread around.
I think this interview is going to force people to, stop, breathe, down, and appreciate what they're in or what they're in the middle of. Like, I think every point that you mentioned, from it being your turning points in Auroville to your turn to sustainability, and so much of knowledge with textile and the kind of harm it's doing. I think this, although everyone knows that fast fashion is so bad for the environment, people don't have a logical reasoning to back up, like, why is fast fashion bad? Like, okay, you're only buying one, but like, how is it affecting? There have been
Exactly.
good points in this interview. I thank you so much for giving us your wonderful time and helping us.
One last thing that I would like to say, actually, sorry to
Sure.
interrupt you. I
No.
just want to add that consuming is that something that we cannot avoid. We every day
True.
we consume a lot in a lot of ways. What I have learned about sustainability is that if you start questioning whatever you're consuming, first is, do you need it? And after you answer, even if you answer yes, you should wait it out for a week, maybe for 7 days, and see, ask yourself that question again: do you really need it? And if the answer is still yes, you can buy it, but you should also question where it's coming from. Like, for instance, most of your clothes are being probably stitched by somebody in Bangladesh who's not being paid well. So it's not only about the environment. The environment is one part of it. There's also a social responsibility that you have. There's a question in the fashion revolution: who made my clothes? Which most of us don't have the answer to. So we should start questioning ourselves, not only about fashion, but even about regular things like makeup, for instance, that the shining glimmer that you put on your face, which child probably in Africa is mining that mica? So if you start asking yourself those questions, you will eventually move towards a sustainable lifestyle, even if you're not planning it. You should always question consumerism. You should always question the systems that are in place, including capitalism, and then go forward with it.
At the end, it's kind of like awareness is greater than anything. That'll help you make a conscious choice.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'd like to thank you so much for joining us. I can't thank you enough for the wonderful things that you've said. It's very different, very unconventional to what we see in our day-to-day lives or what we practice in our day-to-day lives. I am spellbound, actually. I really did not expect this to go such. I was expecting much more of, refined knowledge on architecture, or, how it's going to change the world or such things. This talk, I think today truly reflected the get real part of our talk series. And I someday hope we can have like a part 2 to this session. This can go in so many good ways. And I hope I did not bore you enough today.
You're flattering me. Thank you.
But thank you so much for joining us.